this video, I'm gonna compare Noho versus Soho, two neighborhoods in Manhattan. So if you didn't know the origin of their names, I'm gonna break them down in this video. So Noho stands for north of Houston Street, while Soho stands for south of Houston Street. So that's where both of those names came from. Now, Houston Street, just like the names, divides both of the neighborhoods. So if you're going north of Houston Street, you know you're in Noho, versus if you're going south of Houston Street, you're in Soho. So a lot of people don't even really know where those names came from. So if you look at Houston Street, like the street sign, and you aren't living in Manhattan, you might think that the name of that street is pronounced Houston Street, and why wouldn't you? That is how it's spelled. However, in New York City, it's pronounced Houston Street. That's definitely something that is kind of like a running joke, that you know that someone's not from here if they pronounce it Houston Street. So it is pronounced Houston Street, just to give you guys an insider tip. But anyway, back to the neighborhoods. Both of these neighborhoods are right next to each other. However, they're so different. And I'm gonna break it down in this video. Now, whenever I compare two different neighborhoods, I break it down in 4 different categories. So the categories are live, dining, fun, and beauty. So let's just start off with live. So when you're comparing living in both of these neighborhoods, they are kind of different. So Noho does feel like you're living in the village, but not like living in the village like McDougal Street level, which is like crazy chaos, the village, but more like on the outskirts of the village. But you are so close to everything that the village has to offer in Noho. Now, Noho, you're definitely going to be in a apartment building, but you're not going to be in a cast iron building like you would be in Soho. Soho is the neighborhood with all those cast iron buildings. Noho does not have that at all. Noho is definitely like local neighborhood vibe, but there also is some foot traffic coming through because so many tourists and people are going to the Greenwich Village or just going to the East Side in general to work. So you are going to get a lot of foot traffic there, but it definitely feels like more of a neighborhood to live in than Soho does. Now, Soho has gorgeous loft style apartments, cast iron buildings. It's a gorgeous neighborhood. However, Soho has a lot of traffic for shopping specifically. So both neighborhoods are gonna have a lot of foot traffic. However, Soho is gonna have so much more foot traffic than Noho will have. Both of them have really good dining scenes. Noho in general is a much smaller neighborhood than Soho. So you're just gonna have a little bit less in Noho because of the size of the neighborhood. But some of my favorite spots are in Noho to eat. And Soho has really great spots as well. However, I think I actually, and I might get beat up in the comments for this, but I think I'm okay with saying it. I think I actually prefer some spots in Noho than I do to Soho, and very oddly enough. I feel like Noho sometimes has some really underrated great dining spots. Meanwhile, Soho, of course, it's a very trendy neighborhood that everyone talks about. There's so many people coming into Manhattan who honestly don't even know that the neighborhood of Noho exists because they just know Soho and have heard about that their whole life. So Noho can be very underrated when it comes to that. Now, I'm getting really off topic here in this video because dining was supposed to be my second point, and I didn't even say where I wanted to live in Noho versus Soho. So personally, if I had to pick one neighborhood to live in, Soho versus Noho, I would pick Noho. And that's because there was a point in time in my life where I thought I could live in Soho. I never did live in that neighborhood. However, I just think that the foot traffic there of tourists and people coming in and out to shop all the time, it would just be too much for me in Soho. Now, there are some like off streets that you can live in Soho where you're not getting as much foot traffic going in and out throughout the day. Personally, for me, I just wouldn't like living in Soho. So I would pick Noho because I definitely feel like I would be able to get away from so many crowds throughout the day in Noho. Now, I would say that for the most part, Soho is going to be a little bit more expensive. However, it really depends because Noho, there are some very pricey buildings as well because it is so close to not only Soho, but also the village. So it's pricey too. They're very close. Back to dining. So with dining, I would say I prefer Noho over Soho. Like I said, I think I'm gonna get beat up in the comments about this, and I think I'm okay with that because it's a personal choice. And there's some of my favorite spots in Noho. I just really like dining in that neighborhood. But like I also said in the beginning of this video, it's a small neighborhood. So I guess if you consider like Soho versus Noho as a whole, Soho probably does have a lot more dining establishments. So most people would probably lean towards Soho just for that. But I don't know, there's some spots I just really love in Noho specifically. Okay, so when it comes to fun category, I guess I would go straight to Soho because I do think that Soho has a lot of like pop-ups and different kind of like experiences throughout the year that they do offer in Soho. Noho is so small that they don't really have much of that. I would say that you're on like the borderline of like Washington Square Park, which is technically in the Greenwich Village, but like that's like the most fun you could probably have in the neighborhood. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything else. I do think that there's actually a small theater or two technically in Noho, so you could have that as well. If anybody has anything to add in the comments about entertainment in Noho, off the top of my head, I can't really think of something particular. So please share in the comments because I would love to do a follow-up video kind of talking more about like entertainment and fun in Noho specifically because clearly I'm not the best at that subject. perfect. For the winner of the fun category, I would give it to Soho. Now the beauty category. This is my favorite category because what I mean by beauty is like the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Which neighborhood just looks nicer? And this is hands down going to Soho. Like I said, Soho is the cast iron, pretty much capital of the world. There's the most cast iron buildings in a small radius is Soho. And Noho is also a nice neighborhood. Like I like walking around Noho. However, it looks kind of like your standard city neighborhood. There's nothing really like that stands out aesthetically about Noho. And Soho like so much stands out aesthetically, so 100% to me, Soho is winning this category. So that's my comparison of Noho versus Soho. Again, these are my opinions in this video, and I try to share as much facts as I can as possible so you can make your own opinions. So I would love to see some battles in the comments about the differences between these two neighborhoods and people's experiences in these neighborhoods. So if you have anything to share, please do, because I love hearing from you guys.